Elena Russo's insurance denied the chemotherapy that could save her from stage 3 breast cancer. Without $200,000, she had 48 hours before the hospital stopped her treatment completely. At the billing office, she begged desperately for help, while Luca Santoro overheard from where he sat waiting. He watched her collapse into tears, alone and dying, and made a decision that would change both their lives. What followed was his money, his protection, and a love neither expected. Elena Russo had been sitting in the Mount Sinai Hospital billing office waiting room for 45 minutes. The plastic chair was uncomfortable. The fluorescent lights were too bright. The air smelled like disinfectant and desperation. She clutched a manila folder in her lap containing medical bills, insurance denial letters, and documentation she'd brought to prove she needed help. Her appointment was at 2 p.m. It was now 2:45. Every minute felt like an hour, because she knew what was waiting for her at that desk. The conversation she'd been dreading for weeks. The one where she'd have to beg for her life in terms of payment plans and financial assistance. Elena was 29 years old and she was dying. Stage 3 breast cancer. Diagnosed 8 months ago after she'd felt a lump that wouldn't go away. 8 months of hell. Surgery to remove the tumor. Radiation. The first round of chemotherapy that had stolen her hair and her energy and made her so sick she couldn't work anymore. That first round had worked. The cancer had shrunk. Not gone, but smaller. Manageable. Her oncologist, Dr. Walsh, had been optimistic. 2 more rounds of a different, more aggressive chemotherapy protocol, and they could potentially beat this thing. Put her in remission. Give her a chance at a normal life. Then her insurance company had denied coverage. Said the treatment doctor Walsh recommended was experimental. Not medically necessary. They'd approved the first round, but not this one. The one that could actually save her life. Elena had appealed. Twice. Both times denied. She'd called the insurance company so many times she'd memorized the hold music. She'd cried to customer service representatives who apologized but couldn't help. She'd written letters to supervisors who never wrote back. The treatment cost $200,000. Elena had $1,500 in her bank account. That was it. Everything else was gone. Drained by medical bills her insurance had partially covered. Drained by rent and food and basic survival costs during the month she couldn't work. She'd been a 4th-grade teacher before the cancer. Loved her job. Loved the kids. But standing in front of a classroom for 6 hours while nauseous and exhausted from chemo had become impossible. She'd taken medical leave. Then her leave had run out. Then she'd lost her job. No job meant no income. Just disability payments that barely covered rent on her tiny studio apartment in Washington Heights. She'd sold everything valuable. Her car, her jewelry, her laptop, her nice clothes, anything she could convert to cash. It hadn't been enough. Not even close. So here she sat, waiting to beg a hospital billing department for a payment plan she couldn't afford. Hoping someone would take pity on her. Hoping someone would see that she was 29 years old and didn't deserve to die just because she was broke and alone. Elena Russo. The woman behind the desk finally called her name. She stood, walked to the counter on legs that felt shaky. Weakness. The cancer and the stress and the fear all taking their toll. She'd lost 20 pounds. Her jeans hung loose on hips that used to be curvy. Her sweater felt too big. Everything felt too big because she was shrinking, literally wasting away. Miss Russo. The woman behind the desk was middle-aged with tired eyes and a name tag that said, Barbara. I have your file here. You're looking to discuss payment options for your upcoming treatment? Yes. Elena set her folder on the counter. Her hands were shaking slightly. I know the cost is high, but I need this treatment. My doctor says without it I have maybe 6 months. With it, I could beat this. I could live. I understand. Barbara's voice was professionally sympathetic, but not actually sympathetic. Clinical. I've reviewed your financials. You currently have no income besides disability. No assets. Significant medical debt already. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. But I can work something out. A payment plan. I'll get a job as soon as I'm well enough. I'll pay whatever I can afford. The treatment protocol Dr. Walsh has prescribed costs $208,000. Barbara said the number like it was nothing. Like it wasn't more money than Elena had ever had in her entire life. Our policy requires a minimum 50% down payment for treatments of this cost. That would be $104,000. Elena felt the air leave her lungs. $104,000. Might as well be $1 million. Might as well be impossible. I don't have that. Her voice came out small, broken. You know I don't have that. That's why I'm here. Can't we work something out? Some other arrangement? I'm sorry. Barbara's expression didn't change. But our policy is firm. Without the down payment, we can't proceed with treatment. We've already extended significant credit for your previous care. The hospital can't take on additional financial risk. I'll die. Elena said it plainly. If I don't get this treatment, I'll die. In 6 months. Maybe less. I'm 29 years old. Doesn't that matter? I understand this is difficult. Barbara's tone hadn't changed at all. Professional distance. Like she'd had this conversation 100 times before. But the hospital is a business. We have policies. I'm sure you understand. No. Elena's voice cracked. I don't understand. I don't understand how you can sit there and tell me I'm going to die because I don't have money. I don't understand how that's legal. How that's moral. How you can look me in the eye and... She couldn't finish. Her throat closed up. Tears started, hot and humiliating. She'd promised herself she wouldn't cry, would stay strong, would be dignified. But dignity didn't matter when you were dying. Is there anyone who can help you? Family? Barbara asked it like it was a reasonable question. Like Elena hadn't already exhausted every possible option. Friends? No. The word came out choked. My parents are dead. I don't have siblings. I don't have anyone. That's why I'm here begging you. Because there's no one else. I'm very sorry. Barbara started gathering papers, closing the file, like the conversation was over. If your financial situation changes, please contact us. Otherwise, we'll have to discontinue your treatment plan, effective in 48 hours. Elena felt something break inside her. The last bit of hope she'd been holding on to. The belief that somehow this would work out. That someone would help. That she wouldn't actually die alone and broke at 29. Please. Her hands were on the counter now, gripping the edge. Please don't do this. There has to be another way. Some kind of charity program. Financial assistance. Anything. I've already checked all available programs. You don't qualify. I'm sorry, but... What does she need? The voice came from behind Elena. Deep. Male. Authoritative in a way that made Barbara stop mid-sentence and look up. Elena turned. A man was standing there. Tall. Very tall. Dark suit that looked expensive. Dark hair with silver at the temples. Green eyes that were fixed on Barbara with an intensity that was almost aggressive. I'm sorry, sir, but this is a private conversation. Barbara's professional mask slipped slightly. Uncertainty. How much does she need? The man ignored Barbara completely. Looked at Elena instead. For the treatment. How much? 200,000. Elena heard herself say it. Heard how insane it sounded. Her voice was still thick from crying. 208,000 total. They want half up front. The man pulled out his phone. Started typing. Didn't ask permission. Didn't hesitate. Just did it. Like the amount meant nothing. Sir, you can't. Barbara started. I just did. The man showed his phone to Barbara. Transaction confirmation on the screen. $104,000. Transferred to the hospital's account. Patient Elena Russo. Treatment deposit. Is that sufficient? Barbara stared at the screen. Her mouth actually fell open slightly. Yes, that's... She looked at her computer. Started typing frantically. I'm seeing the transfer now. This is sufficient for the down payment. Good. The man pocketed his phone. When does her treatment start? We'll need to schedule with oncology. Barbara was rattled now. Flustered. Probably tomorrow or the next day, depending on Dr. Walsh's availability. Make it tomorrow. The man's voice had gone cold. She doesn't have time to waste. If you can discontinue treatment in 48 hours, you can start it just as fast. Tomorrow morning, first appointment available. I'll make a note for scheduling to prioritize. Barbara nodded quickly, like she was afraid to argue. You do that. The man looked at Elena. She'd been standing there frozen, in shock, unable to process what had just happened. Come with me. Let them handle the paperwork. Elena couldn't form words. Who are you? That's over $100,000. You don't even know me. We'll talk outside, not here. He gestured toward the door. Trust me. Elena didn't know why she followed him. Shock, maybe. Disbelief. The surreal feeling that this couldn't actually be happening. But she grabbed her folder and walked out of the billing office and into the hospital hallway where it was quieter. Less fluorescent. Less suffocating. The man led her to a small waiting area down the hall. Empty, except for them. Gestured for her to sit. She sat because her legs were shaking and she wasn't sure she could keep standing. My name is Luca Santoro. He sat across from her. Close enough to talk quietly, but not so close she'd feel crowded. I was in that office to pay my mother's hospital bill. I overheard your conversation. All of it. And I decided to help. Elena opened her mouth. Closed it. The question burned in her throat, but she swallowed it. This man had just saved her life. Maybe the why didn't matter as much as the fact that he had. I know you're not lying because I saw your medical file on that desk. Luca continued, reading the uncertainty in her expression. I know you have stage 3 breast cancer, and you're 29 years old and you were about to die because the system failed you. And I know you won't pay me back because I'm not asking you to. This isn't a loan. It's a gift. No strings. No expectations. Just help when help was needed. Elena stared at him. This man who looked expensive and powerful and completely serious about giving away over $100,000 like it was nothing. I can't accept this. It's too much. I don't even know how I'd begin to repay. You can't repay it, and I don't want you to try. Luca's voice was firm. I have money. More money than I need or could spend. You have a life that's worth saving. This is the best possible use of my money. Keeping you alive. That's all the payment I need. The question came out before she could stop it. Why do you care? You don't know me. What makes my life worth this to you? Luca was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was softer. More personal. 5 years ago, my sister was diagnosed with lymphoma. She needed treatment. We're Italian. Family is everything. We spent every dollar we had to save her. And it worked. She's in remission now. Healthy. Living her life. When I heard you in there, alone, with no one to help you, no family to fight for you, I thought about what would have happened to my sister if she'd been alone. And I couldn't walk away. I won't walk away. Elena felt fresh tears starting. Different than before. Not desperation. Something else. Gratitude. Relief. The overwhelming realization that she might actually live. That this stranger had just given her a future. Thank you. It wasn't enough. Could never be enough. But it was all she had. Thank you. I don't know what else to say. You don't have to say anything. Luca pulled a card from his wallet. Handed it to her. This has my personal number. I want you to call me after you talk to your doctor tomorrow. Let me know when treatment starts, when you need rides to appointments, when you need anything. Do you understand? You've already done enough. More than enough. Elena looked at the card. Simple. Elegant. Just his name and a phone number. I can manage the rest. I'm not just giving you money and walking away. Luca's tone was absolute. You're going through hell. You're doing it alone. That's not acceptable to me. You need support. You need someone making sure you have food and transportation and that you're not struggling with side effects by yourself. So I'm offering that support. It's not negotiable. Elena wanted to protest. Wanted to tell him he couldn't just insert himself into her life like this. But the truth was, she needed help. Desperately, and he was offering it freely. She nodded. Okay, I'll call you tomorrow. Luca stood. His expression softened slightly. You're going to beat this. You're going to live. That's not a maybe anymore. That's a certainty, because you're not fighting alone now. He left before she could respond. Just walked away down the hospital corridor like he hadn't just completely changed her entire life in the span of 15 minutes. Elena sat there holding his card. Luca Santoro, a name she'd never heard before today. A man who'd appeared out of nowhere and decided she was worth saving. She didn't understand it. Didn't understand him. But she didn't need to understand. Not yet. She just needed to accept it. Accept that someone cared. Accept that she had a chance. And for the first time in 8 months, she had hope. Elena called Dr. Walsh's office as soon as she got home. They confirmed her first treatment was scheduled for 8 a.m. the next morning. The hospital had prioritized her, exactly like Luca had demanded. She spent the rest of the evening in her tiny studio apartment trying to process what had happened. She'd woken up this morning certain she was going to die. Had gone to that billing office expecting to hear no. Expecting to leave with a death sentence. Instead, she'd left with a future. Because of Luca Santoro. A man she'd met for maybe 10 minutes. A man who'd given her over $100,000 without hesitation. It didn't make sense. People didn't do things like this. Not in her experience. Not in the real world. But he had. And now she had to figure out what that meant. Elena showed up at the hospital at 7:45 the next morning. Early. Nervous. The oncology ward was on the 4th floor. She checked in at the desk. A nurse named Patricia smiled at her warmly. Elena Russo? We've been expecting you. Dr. Walsh wants to see you before we start treatment. He's in his office. Room 412. Doctor. Walsh was in his late 50s. Kind eyes. Patient manner. He'd been her oncologist since diagnosis. Had delivered bad news and good news, and had always been honest with her about her chances. Elena. He stood when she entered. Gestured to a chair. I heard about your insurance situation. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. But I understand someone stepped in to help? Yes. Elena didn't know how much to explain. Someone. A stranger, actually. He overheard me at billing and decided to pay for everything. That's... Dr. Walsh looked genuinely surprised. That's incredibly generous. You're very fortunate. I know. I still don't really understand it. But yes. Fortunate. Well. Dr. Walsh pulled up her file on his computer. Let's talk about what happens next. This new protocol is aggressive. You're going to feel worse before you feel better. Nausea, fatigue, possible hair loss, though yours is already short from the last round. But the success rate is good. Very good. I'm optimistic about your chances. How good? With this treatment, 70% chance of full remission. Dr. Walsh met her eyes. Those are odds worth fighting for, Elena. 70%. Better than she dared hope. Better than dying in 6 months. Worth everything she was about to endure. Let's do it. She said it with more confidence than she felt. Let's beat this thing. Treatment started an hour later. Elena sat in a reclining chair in a large room full of other patients receiving chemotherapy, an IV in her arm, poison flowing into her veins to kill the cancer that was trying to kill her. Patricia the nurse was attentive, explaining everything, bringing warm blankets when Elena got cold, offering anti-nausea medication when the first wave hit. It was going to be a long day, 4 hours for this first session. Then she'd go home. Come back in 2 weeks for another session. Then 2 weeks after that for the third and final round. 3 treatments, 3 chances to kill this cancer, 3 opportunities to live. Elena was 2 hours into treatment when her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. "How's it going?" She stared at the message. Realized. Luca. It had to be. She typed back slowly. One hand because the other had an IV. "It's going. Feel terrible, but that's expected. Thank you again. For everything." His response came quickly. "You're going to feel worse before better. I'm told that's normal. You have everything you need? Food at home? Someone to drive you when treatment is done?" Elena hesitated. The truth was, she was planning to take the subway home. She didn't have anyone to call, didn't want to bother anyone. But something about Luca's text made her answer honestly. "I'll take the subway. I've done it before." The response was immediate. "Absolutely not. I'm sending a car. What time is treatment done?" She could have argued, could have insisted she could manage, but her body already ached and she knew the subway would be hell. She typed back. "Noon. Thank you. Car will be there at noon. Driver's name is Marco. Don't argue." Elena looked at her phone. This man. This stranger who kept helping without asking anything in return. It was overwhelming. His response made her smile despite how awful she felt. "You're welcome. Now focus on beating cancer. Let me handle everything else." Marco was waiting at the hospital entrance at noon. Exactly as promised. Black SUV, professional, polite. He opened the door for her and drove her home without trying to make conversation, seeming to sense she felt too terrible to talk. The next 2 weeks were hell. Elena had forgotten how bad chemotherapy could be. Nausea so intense she could barely eat. Fatigue that made getting out of bed an achievement. Body aches. Dizziness. The general feeling that she was dying even though the treatment was supposedly saving her. Luca texted every day, never intrusive. Just checking in. "How are you feeling? Do you need anything? I'm having groceries delivered. Don't argue." She'd find deliveries at her door, food she could actually stomach, ginger tea for nausea, crackers, soup, things that helped. He'd researched, cared enough to know what someone going through chemo needed. She tried to thank him, tried to tell him it was too much, but he'd just text back the same thing every time. "Focus on getting well. That's all I want from you." 2 weeks later, she went back for her second treatment. Marco picked her up, drove her to the hospital, waited, drove her home. Luca had apparently arranged this without asking, had decided she needed reliable transportation and made it happen. The second treatment was worse than the first. Her body was already weak, adding more poison to the system. She spent 3 days barely able to move, existing in a fog of nausea and exhaustion. On day 4, her door buzzed. Elena dragged herself off the couch, answered the intercom. "Delivery?" a voice said. She buzzed them in, waited by her apartment door, expected a box. Food, probably. More groceries from Luca. Instead, Luca himself appeared in her hallway, carrying bags, looking concerned. Elena was suddenly very aware she looked terrible. Hadn't showered in 2 days, was wearing stained sweatpants and a ratty t-shirt. But she was too exhausted to care about appearances. You weren't answering texts. Luca walked past her into her apartment. His tone was matter-of-fact, not accusatory. "I got worried. I'm okay. Just exhausted." Elena closed the door, watched him set bags on her counter and start unpacking. Fresh groceries, ginger ale, medication. How bad is it? Luca was already in her kitchen, opening cabinets, finding pots. Elena felt her defenses crumble. It's bad. Worse than last time. I can barely keep anything down. Can't sleep. Everything hurts. When was the last time you ate something? He was cooking. Actually cooking in her kitchen. Yesterday, maybe? I don't remember. That's not acceptable. He pointed toward her bathroom. Go shower. Take your time. I'll have food ready when you're done. Elena wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him she could take care of herself. But the truth was she couldn't. And having someone here, someone taking charge and handling things, it felt like relief. She showered. The hot water felt incredible against her aching body. Washed her hair. Put on clean clothes. By the time she came out, Luca had made soup and toast. Simple. Easy to digest. Sit. He put food in front of her. Eat slowly. Small bites. She ate. The soup was good. Stayed down. Her stomach didn't immediately rebel. Small victory. Luca sat across from her, watching to make sure she actually ate. Not hovering, but present. Solid. Elena looked at him over her spoon. This man who kept showing up, who kept helping. She wanted to ask why again. Wanted to understand what drove him to care so much. But she'd asked that question already. He'd answered. Maybe it was time to just accept it. Accept him. Thank you. She said it quietly. For being here. For caring. Always. Luca leaned forward. I know this is hard. I know accepting help isn't easy for you. But you're going through hell, and no one should go through that alone. Because I can help, and choosing not to would make me a terrible person. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you're brave enough to fight cancer. I know you're proud enough to not want to ask for help even when you need it. I know you're kind because the first thing you said after I paid for your treatment was worry about paying me back. Luca's green eyes were intense. You don't have to know someone for years to recognize they're worth caring about, Elena. Elena felt something crack in her chest. This man, this generous, inexplicable man who kept showing up and helping without asking anything in return. She didn't understand it fully, but maybe she didn't need to. Maybe sometimes you just accepted grace when it appeared. She nodded slowly. Okay, I'll try to stop fighting you on this. Good. Luca stood, started cleaning up. I'm going to come by every few days. Make sure you're eating. Make sure you're okay. You can argue about it or you can accept it. Your choice. Elena smiled despite everything. You're very bossy. Italian. We're protective. It's cultural. He smiled back. Get used to it. He left after making her promise to text him if she needed anything. Left her apartment feeling less empty than it had before. Left her feeling less alone. Luca didn't leave right away that night. He stayed. Sat on her worn couch while she ate slowly. Made sure she finished the soup. I have time. Luca leaned back. Relaxed in a way that suggested he had nowhere else he'd rather be. Unless you want me to leave? No. Elena set down her empty bowl, surprising herself with the honesty. No, I don't want you to leave, it's just... She struggled to find words. I'm not used to this. People caring, people staying. Tell me about your parents. Luca's voice was gentle. You said they're gone. What happened? Car accident. Elena pulled her legs up onto the couch, tucked them under her. I was 23, just graduated college. They were driving to my graduation ceremony. Drunk driver hit them head on. They died instantly. I had no one after that. No siblings, no extended family I was close to. Just me. I'm sorry. Luca's expression showed genuine empathy. That's a terrible way to lose them. The worst part is I never got to thank them. Elena felt her throat tighten. Never got to tell them how much they meant to me. They died proud of me, I think. But I never said the words. Never told them I loved them one last time. They knew. Parents always know. Maybe. Elena wiped at her eyes. When I got diagnosed, the first thing I thought was that I'm glad they're not here to see this. Glad they don't have to watch me die. How messed up is that? It's not messed up. It's love. Luca shifted closer. Not touching, but present. You didn't want them to hurt. That's normal. I've been so alone. The words came out broken. For 6 years since they died. Then 8 months since diagnosis. Just me. Figuring everything out by myself. Making decisions by myself. Being terrified by myself. I forgot what it felt like to have someone care. You're not alone anymore. Luca said it with such certainty. Such finality. I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. You understand that, right? This isn't temporary kindness. This is me deciding you matter. Permanently. Elena looked at him. This man who kept saying impossible things. Who kept showing up when everyone else had disappeared. Her throat tightened with emotion she couldn't quite name. Out of everyone in that hospital. Everyone in this city who needs help. She paused, trying to find the right words. I'm grateful. More than I can say. Luca was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was honest. Raw. I don't know if I chose you, or if the universe put you in my path for a reason, but I heard you in that office. Heard you begging for your life. Heard that woman tell you no, and something in me just decided. This woman deserves better. This woman deserves to live. And I have the power to make that happen. So I did. There's no grand reason, no complex motivation. Just, you needed help, and I could give it. That simple? That simple. Luca met her eyes. Sometimes the most important decisions we make are the simplest ones. Do we help, or do we walk away? I chose to help. Best decision I've ever made. Elena felt something shift in her chest. Something warm and terrifying and hopeful all at once. Thank you. For choosing me. For staying. For making me feel less alone. Always. Luca stood finally. Stretched. But you need rest. I'll go. Call me if you need anything tonight. Anything at all. Promise me. I promise. He left, and Elena sat in her apartment feeling less afraid than she had in months. The pattern continued. Luca would text daily. Would show up every few days with food or just to check on her. Would make sure she had transportation to appointments. Would sit with her when she felt terrible and distract her with conversation when she needed distraction. They talked. Really talked. She learned he ran several businesses, some legitimate, some less so. He didn't hide what he was. Didn't pretend to be something he wasn't. I'm involved in things that aren't legal. He told her this over soup one evening. Things I'm not proud of, but that are part of my world. I want you to know that. To understand who you're accepting help from. Does it involve hurting innocent people? No. Never. Then I don't care. Elena met his eyes. You saved my life. Whatever else you do, you saved me when no one else would. That's what matters. Something shifted between them after that conversation. An understanding. An acceptance. He was a complicated man who did questionable things, but who had shown her nothing but kindness. She was a woman fighting for her life who'd learned to accept help from an unexpected source. The third and final treatment came. Elena was stronger this time. Her body had adjusted somewhat. The treatment was still terrible but bearable. She made it through, went home, survived the aftermath. 2 weeks later, she had a follow-up with Dr. Walsh. Scans, blood work, the moment of truth. Elena sat in his office, terrified, hopeful. Luca had offered to come with her, but she'd said no. This was something she needed to do alone. Dr. Walsh smiled when he walked in. That was a good sign. Elena, the scans look great. Better than I'd hoped. The tumors have shrunk significantly. Blood work shows improvement across the board. I'm putting you in remission. Cautious remission. We'll monitor closely. But remission nonetheless. Elena couldn't breathe. Remission. The word she'd been afraid to hope for. I'm going to live. You're going to live. Dr. Walsh's smile widened. You beat this thing, Elena. You won. She called Luca from the parking lot. He answered on the first ring. Remission. She said it and started crying. I'm in remission. Dr. Walsh says I beat it. Elena. His voice was warm, proud. I knew you would. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you. The truth. The absolute truth. I would have died. You saved my life. You saved your own life by being strong enough to fight. I just removed financial barriers. Luca paused. I want to see you. Celebrate properly. Can I take you to dinner tonight? Yes. Elena was smiling through tears. Yes, I'd like that. He took her to a small Italian restaurant in Little Italy. Family-owned, intimate, beautiful. They sat across from each other, and she was suddenly nervous. This felt like a date. Was this a date? You look beautiful. Luca said it simply, directly. The color's back in your face. You look healthy. Elena touched her hair self-consciously. Still short, still growing back. I look like I've been sick. You look like a survivor. There's a difference. He reached across the table, took her hand. You're the strongest person I've met, Elena. You fought cancer and won. That's incredible. With your help, stop deflecting. Luca squeezed her hand gently. Accept the compliment. Accept that you're extraordinary. Elena looked at this man who'd appeared in her life like a miracle, who'd saved her without hesitation, who'd stayed even though he had no reason to. I need to tell you something. Okay. I think I'm falling for you. She said it before she could lose her nerve. These past months, you showing up, taking care of me. I've developed feelings. Real feelings. And I don't know if that's gratitude or trauma bonding or just... Her voice faltered. But I needed you to know. Luca was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. A real smile. Warm and genuine. I know. I've known for a while. Because I've been falling for you too. Really? Really. From the moment I saw you in that billing office, fighting for your life with everything you had, something in me decided you were important. That evolved into something more. You're brave and kind and stubborn, and you make me want to be better. So yes, I have feelings for you. Very real feelings. But I was sick. I was weak. You were never weak. Fighting cancer while alone is the opposite of weak. Luca's thumb brushed across her knuckles. And I didn't fall for you because you were healthy. I fell for you because of who you are. The woman who kept fighting even when the world told her to give up. This is crazy. Elena was smiling now. Really smiling. You paid for my cancer treatment and now we're... What? Dating? If you want to date. If you want to see where this goes. I'm all in. Luca's expression was serious. But only if you're sure. Only if this is what you want, and not what you think you owe me. I don't feel like I owe you. Honest. I feel like I found something I wasn't looking for. Something unexpected and real. Elena squeezed his hand back. So yes, I want to see where this goes. They took it slow after that. Dates. Real dates. Movies and museums and long walks through Central Park. Getting to know each other without the weight of cancer hanging over everything. learning who they were when she wasn't dying, and he wasn't saving her. Luca was surprisingly romantic, brought her flowers, planned thoughtful dates, listened when she talked about her life before cancer, her dreams of going back to teaching, her desire to travel, all the things she'd thought she'd never get to do. One evening, about a month into officially dating, Luca took her to the Brooklyn Bridge at sunset. The city stretched out around them, golden light on steel and glass. People walked past, but Elena only saw him. I used to come here when things got complicated. Luca leaned against the railing, looked out at the water. My work, the things I do. Sometimes I'd stand here and wonder if I was becoming the kind of man I'd hate. And now? Elena moved closer, slipped her hand into his. Now I come here and think about you, about how you make me want to be better, how you see the good in me even when I'm not sure it's there. Luca turned to face her. His green eyes were intense, vulnerable in a way she'd rarely seen. You changed something fundamental, Elena. Made me believe I could be more than what I do, more than the business, more than the family obligations. You've always been more than that. Elena reached up, touched his face. You proved that the day you helped me. You could have walked away, ignored what you heard, but you didn't. That's who you are, not what you do for work, who you choose to be when it matters. Luca pulled her close, held her like she was something precious, something worth protecting. I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving you right about me. You don't have to prove anything. Elena wrapped her arms around him. Just be exactly who you are. They stood there as the sun set, as the city lights came on, as the world kept moving around them. Two people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances and chosen to build something beautiful from it. Elena learned about his family, met his mother Rosa, who'd recovered from her heart surgery, met his sister Gabriella, who was indeed in remission and thriving. They welcomed her warmly, treated her like she already belonged. Meeting Luca's family happened 3 weeks after their first real date. He'd invited her to Sunday dinner, traditional Italian. His mother insisted. Elena was terrified. She stood outside the brownstone in Bay Ridge, clutching a bottle of wine she'd spent too much money on, trying to breathe normally. Luca opened the door before she could knock, smiled when he saw her. You look scared. I am scared. What if they hate me? What if they think I'm just some woman using you for money? They won't think that. Luca pulled her inside, kissed her forehead. I've told them about you, about how we met, about how brave you are. They're excited to meet you. The house smelled like garlic and tomatoes and bread. Home cooking. Elena's mother used to cook like this. The scent made her chest ache with memory. Rosa Santoro was in the kitchen. Small woman, maybe 5'2", dark hair going silver, warm brown eyes. She saw Elena and immediately pulled her into a hug. Elena, I've heard so much about you. Come, sit, you're too thin. We need to feed you. Mama. Luca's voice held affection and exasperation. Give her space to breathe. No space. Rosa waved him off. She's been sick. She needs food, family, love. We have all three here. Gabriella appeared from the living room. Luca's sister, younger by 3 years, beautiful, healthy, no visible signs of the lymphoma she'd beaten. So you're the woman who stole my brother's heart. Gabriella grinned, hugged Elena warmly. I like you already. Anyone who can make Luca actually smile like a human person instead of brooding like a movie gangster is good in my book. I don't brood. Luca protested. You absolutely brood. Gabriella looked at Elena. He does this thing where he stares intensely into the distance like he's solving world peace. It's very dramatic. Elena laughed. Actually laughed. The tension breaking. I've seen that. Usually right before he texts me asking if I've eaten. See? Gabriella linked her arm through Elena's. You get it. Come on. Let me tell you embarrassing stories about him while Mama finishes cooking. Dinner was loud, warm, chaotic in the best way. Rosa piled Elena's plate with pasta and meatballs and vegetables, insisted she eat. Gabriella told stories about Luca as a kid. Serious even then, always protecting people, always fixing problems. He paid for my treatment too. Gabriella said it casually, mentioned it like it was normal. When I got diagnosed, he liquidated assets, sold properties, spent everything to save me. That's who he is. He saves people he loves. Elena looked at Luca across the table. He was watching her, that intense look, the one that said she mattered. She understood then. This was his language. Money wasn't just money to him. It was safety, security, the ability to protect the people who mattered. He'd saved his sister. Now he was saving her. It was how he showed love. Thank you for welcoming me. Elena said it to Rosa but meant it for all of them, for treating me like family. You are family now. Rosa patted her hand. Anyone Luca loves is family. That's how we do things. 3 months after remission, Elena moved out of her studio. Luca helped her find a better apartment. Bigger, safer neighborhood, better building. He didn't offer to pay for it. Knew she needed to maintain some independence. But he helped her move. Painted walls, assembled furniture. 6 months after remission, she went back to teaching. Part-time at first, building her strength. Her students were wonderful, curious about where she'd been but respectful. She told them simply that she'd been sick, but was better now. 8 months after remission, Luca asked her to move in with him. Not his penthouse. A house. A real house in Brooklyn with a yard and space. He'd bought it for them, for their future. Are you sure? Elena looked at the house. It was beautiful. Perfect. This is a huge step. I'm sure. I've been sure since the day I met you. Luca pulled her close. You're it for me, Elena. You're the person I want to build a life with. So yes, I'm very sure. She said yes. Moved in. Started building a life with this man who'd saved her in every way a person could be saved. A year after remission, Dr. Walsh confirmed what they'd been hoping for. No sign of cancer. Elena was officially considered cured. The likelihood of recurrence dropped dramatically. She was going to live. They celebrated with his family, with her students, with Marco, who'd driven her to so many treatments, with Patricia the nurse, who'd been so kind, with everyone who'd been part of her journey. That night, alone in their house, Luca held her close. I'm so proud of you. We did it together. No, you did this. You fought. You won. I just made sure you had what you needed to fight. Luca kissed her forehead. You're the strongest person I know, Elena Russo. The proposal happened on a Tuesday. Ordinary day. Elena came home from teaching, found Luca in their kitchen looking nervous. Actually nervous. She'd never seen him nervous. What's wrong? Elena set down her bag, immediately worried. Did something happen? Nothing's wrong. Luca took her hand, led her to the living room. Sit with me? They sat on the couch. He was holding both her hands now, looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Elena, I need to tell you something. I've been thinking about this for months. Planning, trying to figure out the right words. He took a breath. I'm not good at romantic speeches. I'm better at action than words. But you deserve words. Luca. Her heart was pounding. What is this? 18 months ago I met you in a hospital. You were dying. Alone. Fighting harder than anyone I'd ever seen. I helped because I could. because walking away felt impossible. He squeezed her hands. I didn't know then that helping you would change my entire life, that you would become the most important person in my world, that I'd fall so completely in love with you that the idea of a future without you makes me feel like I can't breathe. Elena felt tears starting. The good kind. You're everything. Luca's voice was rough with emotion. You're brave and kind and stubborn, and you make me want to be better. You make me believe in things I'd stopped believing in. Hope, future, family, love that isn't complicated or conditional. Just love. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box, opened it. A ring, simple, elegant, perfect. Marry me. Not because you feel like you owe me, not out of gratitude, but because you love me the way I love you, because you want to build a life together, because we're better together than apart. Luca's green eyes were bright. Marry me, Elena. Be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life making you happy. Elena was crying fully now. Yes. God, yes. I love you. I want everything with you. Yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, kissed her, deep and long and full of promise. When they pulled apart, he was smiling. That rare, genuine smile that was just for her. I'm going to make you so happy. Promise you that. You already do. Elena touched his face. Every single day. You already do. They married 6 months later. Small ceremony. His family. Her students. The people who mattered. Patricia came. Marco came. Even Dr. Walsh came. Elena Santoro. She'd taken his name. Become part of his family officially. Built a life she'd thought she'd never have. 2 years after remission, they talked about kids. Both wanted them. Decided to try. Within 6 months, Elena was pregnant. Healthy pregnancy, no complications. A daughter. Isabella. Perfect. Luca cried when he held his daughter for the first time. This fierce, dangerous man reduced to tears by a tiny baby who looked like her mother. You gave me everything, he told Elena in the hospital room. You gave me a family, a future, a reason to be better. You gave me my life back. Elena touched his face. Literally saved my life. Everything after that is because of you. Everything after that is because you were brave enough to accept help. Brave enough to fight. Brave enough to live. 5 years after remission, Elena stood in her classroom teaching 4th graders about perseverance, about fighting for what matters, about accepting help when you need it, about kindness from unexpected places. She wore a bracelet Luca had given her, engraved with the date she'd gone into remission, a reminder of what she'd survived, what they'd survived together. That afternoon, she came home to their house in Brooklyn. Luca was there, playing with Isabella in the yard, looking happy in a way he'd never been before meeting her. He saw her, smiled. That smile that was just for her, the one that said she was everything. Elena walked over, kissed him, kissed their daughter, looked at the life they'd built from the ashes of her illness and his generosity. I love you, she told him, for saving me, for staying, for everything. I love you too. Luca pulled her close. For letting me, for fighting, for being exactly who you are. They stood there in their yard. Family, future, everything they'd fought for. Everything that had seemed impossible that day in the hospital billing office when a stranger had decided one woman's life was worth saving. Sometimes, Elena thought, miracles came from unexpected places. Sometimes salvation had green eyes and an Italian accent, and the willingness to help someone who couldn't help themselves. Sometimes all it took was one person deciding that your life mattered, that you were worth fighting for, that you deserved a chance. Luca had given her that chance, had stood between her and death, and said, not today. Not on my watch. Not while I can do something about it. And Elena had taken that chance and run with it. Had fought. had survived, had built a beautiful life on the foundation of his generosity and her strength. She'd been dying, alone, broke, hopeless. Now she was alive, loved, safe, hopeful. All because one man had been in the right place at the right time and had decided to care. If you enjoyed this story of unexpected salvation and the love that grows from genuine kindness, subscribe to our channel for more stories about dangerous men with gentle hearts and the women who changed their lives. Leave a comment telling us what moved you most about Luca and Elena's journey. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next tale of love found in the darkest moments. Thank you for reading, and remember that sometimes the greatest act of strength is accepting help when you need it most.